birthday cake. I'm making her a vanilla cake with some confetti sprinkles inside and a key lime frosting. And I'm gonna need a stick and a half of softened butter. So I'm gonna add in a cup and a quarter of sugar. Making your own cake might seem complicated, but I promise you this recipe is super easy. And with an electric mixer, I'm just going to cream these together. So I'm just gonna let the mixer go till it gets light and fluffy. Okay, while the butter and sugar are creaming together, I'll get started on the dry ingredients. So I'm gonna sift together some cake flour. I'm gonna need 2.5 cups of cake flour. I met Glenda at an Oklahoma State football game almost 10 years ago now. She was moving to Nashville to do hair and makeup, which she has done for years. We just became fast friends, and of course, she's great at her job, but she's also just a great gal pal. Today is all about laughing, not taking ourselves too seriously, and just hanging out and being comfortable. This is my favorite kind of party. You just kind of hang out. Now, if you're seeing cake flour and you're saying, what's the difference between cake flour and all-purpose flour? Cake flour just has a little less protein in it. It feels a little bit finer. I'm adding in some baking powder, and I'm going to add in a half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then I'm going to add in a quarter teaspoon of salt. I always use cake flour for this German chocolate cake that I make for Garth for his birthday every year. So it gives you a nice, really tender cake. This is the TY sift and pat technique. With your mixer on very low, you're going to add some eggs. I'm going to add 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs, and 2 egg whites. I'm going to let those get a little bit combined while I'm separating these eggs. Separating eggs is just that. You just want to separate the white from the yolk. I just go back and forth, carefully not to try to break that yolk. And you can always save these yolks for another purpose. There we go. Now they're getting to know each other. Everything's good. I'm going to add in these egg whites. Eggs and egg whites also help everything come together. You need that in a cake. All right, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla, which is going to be a couple of capfuls of this small bottle. And now we're going to add in half the flour, 1 spoonful at a time. This is where patience comes into play. If you're not patient, the minute you add it, just fly out. Don't ask me how I know. If you've watched the show, you've seen me do that a million times. And then I'll add the buttermilk. Buttermilk is a tenderizer, has that nice little tang that does add really nice flavor. And I'm going to add in the rest of this flour. I always encourage people, if you buy cake mix out of a box, which is fine, mostly what has been done for you is they've just sifted together your flour and your baking soda and your salt and your baking powder. You're still going to add eggs or oil. I really just want to encourage you to make your own cake because it's just 1 or 2 extra little steps and you have a homemade from scratch cake. All right, now is the beautiful part of the parchment. Gives you a nice way to just get the rest of that flour into the bowl. All right, this is mixed together. This is just a basic vanilla cake, which is really great to have on hand. You can pair it with anything. You can change it up by what you add inside and by however you want to frost it. So it's just a good basic cake recipe to have. I've got some really cute little sprinkles here, kind of confetti sprinkles. I'm going to put some of them in the batter, and I'm going to save some to garnish on the top. So these will actually melt into the batter, so when we cut into the cake after it's cooked, you'll see these little cute colors. So I'm just going to add about half of this jar and save the rest for the top. I mean, that's a party right there. We haven't even baked the cake yet, and it's a party. And then I'm just going to fold them in with my spatula. And then I'm going to divide the batter into 2 8-inch round pans. If you're really crazy, you can measure, weigh the pans to make sure you have exactly the same amount of batter in each pan. But that is not how I roll. I'm eyeballing. I am with a group of friends who are not going to judge me if my layers aren't the same weight. Okay, so these are going to go into the oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. Coming up, the drinks are flowing, and we get to work on our charcuterie.